president of Palmer International World Companies and End Time Angel Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain. We're in the 6th sea, and we're at the end of the world. And this is it. There is no waiting for the end times. The end times is now. And there's a whole lot of things I need to tell you. What you must understand is, I know you enjoy this beautiful world. I enjoy a lot of these great things. But I can't lie to you. The world is ending. Whatever you're going to do, you need to do it now. You're going to get married, you need to get married now. You got to stop sitting. The world is coming to an end. Jesus is coming back. And he's coming back real soon. You know, I have spent a lot of hours making you this presentation. I want to give you an idea of what is coming. And, you know, there's a whole lot of things I would like to do with my life, but I don't know if it's really possible. There's a whole lot of places I would like to go. There's a whole lot of things I would like to do. A whole lot of countries I like to visit. A whole lot of money I like to spend. A whole lot of treasures and things I would love to do. But the reality is, it's never going to happen. The world is coming to an end. And now, I understand you asked me a question. What should you do? Yes, there's many things you could do. Number one, prepare your soul's salvation. Get your soul right with God. Stop sinning. Stop living in sin. Stop fornicating. Stop committing all sin. Stop stealing. Stop lying. Stop it all. Because the world is ending. Number two, prepare for the end. Get your health together. Get your heart, your mind, your soul, your whole body. So when persecution comes, you can deal with the ordeal. Because persecution is not what you think it's going to be. You're not going to be in the mountains with a cell phone looking at people catching plagues and dying from all type of torturous calamities. You are going to suffer. Therefore, you must prepare. You got to prepare. Because this is the end. So, you know, I'm going to let the video speak for itself. I'm going to let the video I have made for you speak for itself. You're going to see a simulation of all the things that have passed. You know, because the son-in-law is here. It's not just for Seventh-day Adventists. It's for Bible-believing Christians. People who believe in the law of God. All those who don't believe in the law of God will not be saved. You must believe in the righteousness of God. And the righteousness of God is obeying His will. God don't want your money. He don't want your house. He don't want your car. He just wants worship. Just like the devil wants worship. The world is coming to an end. We are living in great sin. People walking naked in the street. People are worshiping demons. People are worshiping all type of things. People are doing magic and doing all these demonic things. People are doing all these hand signs. You know, all these hand signs claiming that they are worshiping God. These hand signs and these demonic things that people are doing and wearing all these symbolism on their clothing is of the devil. It is not of God. So please get your soul right with God. I love you. I love even my enemies. I wish that no one would be lost. But all I can do is give you the warning message. This presentation I'm presenting to you will be the most powerful presentation that you will ever see. Get it right. Get it together. Jesus is calling you. And please, if you hear His voice, come to Jesus. I was never perfect all myself. I was not always perfect. I used to live in sin. I've tried my best to live for Jesus. I don't want to die in sin. If you don't even have an idea of what being lost is and the suffering you will do for 1,000 years, you would not want to be lost. Jesus is coming. So please get yourself right with God. And one thing I would like to tell you, you need to get my DVD, my 13 DVD series called Entermann. Time Angel Preparedness. Please get my DVD. Please call me at area code 610-340-0260, or you can call me in Costa Rica at 506-2240-2596. Please get my DVD. It's very important. You will learn all about the end times and the tricks of the devil. The devil's real, my friend. He's real. And he's trying to take your soul. I love Jesus. I love you. Save your soul now. Because this is the end of all time. And I don't know how to tell you. But what I am telling you is, it's really sad that the world is ending. I enjoy the things of the world. Yes, I do enjoy some of these things. But I know there is a greater place. I've never been there, but I know God is real. I talk to God like a real man almost every day. And I can feel his protection. Every time I do something wrong, I can hear him talking to me. God is real. God is not just a myth. God is not a fairy tale. God is a real, supernatural, powerful power. Get your soul right with God. Let me do a prayer with you before I play this video. Dear Father and our God, bless this ministry that thousands of people can get this message. All those who are hearing this will come to you. You, the great God of paradise, the great Almighty God. Help bring them closer to you with this message. This is the last 3 angels' message. Save them before they're lost. Their God and our Father, which art in heaven, bless us in the name and the glorious and the most almighty name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you for listening.
Blessed are the eyes that see what you see. For I tell you, many kings and prophets have desired to see what you see, and have not seen it. To hear what you hear, and have not heard it. I thank you, Father.
I go by T-Virus. I express myself as a living doll.
There is also the agenda of confusing the sexes in society. The elite want to destroy the family. They are trying to destroy traditional values and also just confuse the masses so that they don't understand the God-given design of things. But they are God haters and they are after destroying the designs of God, so that is why they are using this propaganda campaign to fulfill that agenda. Nothing but staged propaganda to fulfill an elite agenda to confuse the masses so that sexuality is come under attack. So when these new philosophies start being preached through the media that, you know, sex is a social construct, there's no such thing, a boy can be a girl and a girl can be a boy, all this stuff because technology is now available, that these mindsets and ideas will be accepted. So this is an elite propaganda campaign, absolutely, through and through. They're taking someone who represented as an Olympian maleness, manhood, and then now they're turning him into a female. Called the new.
Hi, this is Helena. Review these satanic rituals of the United States government and the Masonry religion, and how they worship Satan, and the entire US government. Also, review here how they are associated with the secret society and the worship of Satan. Also, read the New World Order of the secret society and Satanism, and the clear violation of the law of God and humanity. This chapter will clearly tells you what is their agenda and plans are for you under the New World Order.
New World Order, which was written by A. Ralph Epperson, who's written several of these books, types of books on the New World Order. Now this was written in 1989. Okay, so let's take a look at what they wrote here, or he wrote. The New World Order will include changes in the family. Homosexual marriages will be legalized. Parents will not be allowed to raise their children. The state will. All women will be employed by the state and not allowed to be homemakers. Divorce will become exceedingly easy. Monogamous marriages will be slowly phased out. The workplace. The government will become the owner of all factors of production. The private ownership of property will be outlawed. That's Agenda 21, of course. Religion. Religion will be outlawed and believers will be either eliminated or imprisoned. There will be a new religion, the worship of man and his mind. All will believe in the new religion, the New Age religion, of course. So this book was ahead of its time, obviously. There you go. I mean, this is exactly what's happening right at this moment. I mean, we're seeing marriage being attacked, religion being attacked, They ridicule religion everywhere. We see in the music industry how all the hip-hop stars come out and claim that they're God. They mock God.
Wherever he visits, Pope Francis seems to be met by throngs of adoring faithful. He has spoken out against the evils of capitalism and says a revolution is needed to fight climate change. At times, he has sounded soft on homosexuality and has made it easier for Catholics to get their marriages annulled. So when Pope Francis visits the US, he will bring with him a lot of questions about what he really believes, and if, as reported, a schism is growing within the Roman Catholic Church. Pope Francis has delighted some Catholics and infuriated others with some strange-sounding ideas, like atheists should follow their conscience, the Quran is against violence, and by pushing liberation theology.
A protester, desperate to reach the Pope, drops to his knees, pulled away by security officers. 2 others join him. The Pope calls him back, an urgent moment, and then the arrests. The Pope continued on.
There is a storm coming! Like nothing you have ever seen! And not a one of you is prepared for it!
Ladies and gentlemen, there is an approaching storm that is on the horizon. But the only question is, can you be able to see that storm coming? Do you see the signs of the storm which is approaching? Before a storm comes, there will be signs. You will look above. You will even feel that it's getting windier and windy. The clouds start rolling in. From a distance, you will be able to detect whether a storm is coming or not. Nowadays, we have meteorologists who will tell you, they will give you the forecast of an approaching storm, which the signs of it can be seen all around us. I'm talking metaphoric at this time. Metaphorically speaking, there is an approaching storm.
You guys know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
I don't know, maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm is
We have the world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Give us a hint of your
Thank you, everybody.
When a president speaks like that, whether you hate him or you like him, whether you think he is dumb or clever, these are serious words. More specific, this is why you need to take these words seriously. Numerous amount of times during the Obama administration, even during the Bush administration, American troops have been training on US soil. They have been preparing for a national crisis. And here we are in 2017. President Trump is now saying this is the calm before the storm. In other words, the storm, whether you like it or not, the storm is coming. Because each president that came, they are giving you a hint. In other words, you are seeing a forecast. You are seeing the signs. Now these signs of the approaching storms get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, Donald Trump, here he is. What have we seen so far? We have seen signs that are pointing to a dreadful time in the future of America and of the whole world. We hear rumors and threats of wars.
Hi, I'm Janet Napolitano, Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. Homeland Security begins with hometown security. That's why I'm pleased that Walmart is helping to make our communities more safe and secure. If you see something suspicious in the parking lot or in the store, say something immediately. Report suspicious activity to your local police or sheriff. If you need help, ask a Walmart manager for assistance. Thank you for doing your part to help keep our hometowns safe.
there's been something that began to happen as of late, and it's only worsening and worsening as time goes by. Because the government is shutting down Walmarts all across the United States of America. Walmart has been working with the government since before 2008. They receive billions of dollars from the government so that they will go and expand all across America and to buy other smaller companies and take over. They were given that. In fact, here's something interesting about Walmart. Let's take that word Walmart, rearrange it so that Mart becomes first and Wall becomes last. So we get Mart Wall, correct? Yes. Now let's take that word wall and let's rearrange it backwards. What do we get? Law. In other words, we got Mart Law. What's the obvious? Do you not see that it says martial law right in front of your eyes? Walmart is simply martial law in reverse. That is how these secret societies work. They are telling you the truth in plain sight. The question is, will you be able to see it? And it just so happened that they are working with FEMA. FEMA is an agency that works for the federal government. And so far, the Walmarts which have been closed, they have been turned into what appears like this.
This resolution is a total rewrite of the War Powers Clause of the United States Constitution. Let's be clear about that. It is essentially a declaration of international martial law, a sweeping transfer of military power to the president that will allow him or her to send U.S. troops almost anywhere in the world for almost any reason with absolutely no limitations.
I'm at the neighborhood Walmart in San Jose, California. This is what it has become. I did not want to believe it, but it's happening. Does this look like your friendly neighborhood Walmart to you? No. Anyone who knows anything about jail or anything about that knows what this is. That is a holding area. Oh, I'm not allowed to go past this line actually, because the security guard told me if I do, it links up to the San Jose Police Department and they will come here and arrest me. That's kind of weird for a Walmart that's not in use anymore.
That's right. What you are seeing with your own eyes is a Walmart that has been turned into a prison-like place. That's a prison. But the interesting thing is it's empty. No one is there. But they do have cameras all over the place. So what exactly are they preparing for? Well, they are preparing for an approaching storm in which they are going to have to round up people and put them in these facilities. These unoccupied facilities at the moment. Now, there have been also military trucks, military vehicles that have been spotted in Walmarts across America. But don't believe me, please don't believe me. Look at these images for yourself. Look at these videos for yourself. What are you seeing? Am I lying to you? Is this a conspiracy theory? This is not a theory, this is a fact. It is a conspiracy, but it's not a lie. Ladies and gentlemen, the fact of the matter is this. These people, they are way ahead of us. They can give us hints here, and they can make us all look in one direction and make us think this is when it's going to happen, this is the time, this is when it's going to happen, and then they'll change their plans. And this is to see how people will respond to these kinds of situations. And remember, these people in the government, they have agents who are also in the opposition side. They've got agents in the conspiracy community, more agents than you think. This is controlled opposition. These false alerts are to create an atmosphere of the boy who cried wolf. In other words, it is to create an atmosphere that will lead people to become calm before the storm. What am I saying? What I'm saying is, if you keep throwing false alerts to people and you keep giving them dates and you keep telling them this is what's going to happen, this is when it's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen, and you get them every time and only to disappoint them, only for them to realize that, oh, there's no such, you've been playing us all along with all your conspiracy theorists. Eventually they get to the point where they are angry and they say, listen, we don't believe this garbage anymore. There is no such thing as martial law that will ever be declared, at least not in our lifetime. The economy will not collapse, not at least in our lifetime. All things are going normal. Leave us be. Once they get to that point, they accept that they are going to be okay, and tomorrow you should not worry about tomorrow, which means they enter a state of the calm before the storm, because a storm is going to come and sweep them off without them being aware of it. Now, as of late, major organizations such as the World Health Organizations and the United Nations and many other worldwide organizations, they have been promoting or pushing for this peace and safety, peace and security thing. That should ring a bell to many of you, especially for you who are Christians out there. If this does not ring a bell to you, there's a problem.
For when they shall say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief.
The fact of the matter is this: we are living in fearful and dreadful times. And no, make no mistake, this is not a doomsday message. This is a message of hope. This is a message that will remind you, in case you forgot, this is to remind you, we are near the end of time. We are here at the closing of time. We are the privileged generation that get to witness the second coming of Jesus Christ, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. These are dreadful and fearful times. Decades ago, it was very rare to see more than one Category 5 storm. However, in today's times, that is a myth, because now it is normal for people to see multiple Category 5 storms take place within only a span of weeks and wreak havoc on different parts of the world, yet people are sleeping. While these are taking place, you are seeing earthquakes. The earth itself is in pain. The fish of the sea, the birds of the heavens, the beasts of the field are all being taken away. Yet, many of you are not paying attention to the signs. Terrorism is spreading across the world like wildfire. Fear is striking people. Hatred and envy is moving like wildfire across the world. Corruption is being promoted and pushed in the media. That is what you are being entertained with. Doctrines
of demons. You are being indoctrinated into the doctrines of the occult. Homosexuality is spreading like wildfire all across the world. I have one question for you. Can you now, my brother, my sister, can you see the signs of the times? No, not yet. We are hearing of wars and rumors of wars spreading like wildfire all across the world. All of these things are happening at the exact same time in different parts of the world. Nowhere is safe anymore. Yet, my question still remains the same. Can you see with your own eyes the signs of the times?
And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can either be wise or you can be a fool. There are only the two. You cannot be halfway between a wise man or a foolish man. You are either hot or you are cold. There is no such thing as being neutral. If you are neutral, you are a fool. The Bible says that the foolish man says in his heart, there is no God. And these same foolish people, they profess themselves to be wise. And the Bible also says that while professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. And that's where evolution comes into play as well. This is spreading around the world like wildfire. Listen to what the Bible says about these people.
Because that, when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lusts of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshipped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen.
More news alert, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining the Controversy 7 once again. Let's jump straight into the subject. For those of you who live in America, you may start experiencing painful moments as you witness your wallets start getting lighter and lighter.
because it's going to cost you a lot more now to be able to drive your vehicle. And the reason why I say this is because there is a gas shortage crisis that is currently taking place within 6 states. 6 states have thus far been affected by a gas crisis which is currently taking place there because there is a supposed gas leak, while there is a leak right now that is taking place. That is known as the Colonial Pipeline leak. However, I got my own theories, my own thoughts as far as that is concerned all by itself, because I'm thinking about the Hegelian dialectic. When you look at the Hegelian dialectic, it becomes very relevant for the Hegelian dialectic card to be played in 2016 more than ever before, because now we are one step closer to an ultimate change that is going to change our society. Everything is going to change. The system of government is going to change. Everything is going to change. And it makes even more sense because while we are seeing all of these different crises and all these different problems that are emerging from all different corners of the world, many people are still screaming about peace and safety. And lo, your own leaders are also saying peace and safety, peace and safety. But while they are shouting these words, the Bible prophesies that when they shall say to you peace and safety here and there, sudden destruction is going to come upon them. And that's what's going to happen to those who are not awake. Destruction is going to come at an unexpected turning point. The Hegelian dialectic dictates that if you have a thesis, there must be an antithesis or antithesis. And the resulting solution is known as the synthesis. Problem, reaction, solution. That is what we are dealing with.
Not to panic. News Channel 5's Julia Brock is live off Harding Place in Nashville, where drivers were just sent away. Julia, what's going on?
Carrie, just a few minutes ago, this gas station went dry. You can see there are no cars here. This was a much different story, though, when we arrived a short time ago. We actually saw them put out this one sign that said regular gasoline only. Drivers continued to fill up, and then suddenly these yellow signs came out saying no more gasoline. I want you to take a look at the video. You can just see the long lines that were actually going out into the roadway at one point there, and drivers telling us they had to go to multiple stops before they found some gasoline. Take a listen.
20 to 30 minutes waiting in line after driving around for probably 40 minutes looking for somewhere that had gas.
I was at the gas station and I was barely making it. Yeah, lucky.
What's it been like around town to try to get gas tonight?
This is my 4th station. 4th. And it's like mad chaos out there.
After a pipeline that transports nearly half of the region's fuel had to be shut down because of a leak, gas prices could climb across the southeast. On Friday, Colonial Pipeline Company said that its primary gasoline pipeline wouldn't be operational again for a week. With 13 states spanning from Georgia to New York, the pipeline connects refineries in Texas and Louisiana. It supplies the region with nearly 40% of its gasoline. It's unclear when the line started leaking. Colonial said, however, in a statement that the leak was detected on September 9th. About 6,000 to 8,000 barrels of gasoline had been lost.
Right now, America is being tested. The people's patience are being tested. You are being tested, Ben, and the elite, your leaders are watching over you. They want to see how people are going to react. Are they prepared for the next stage? Will they go animalistic on one another? Will they start turning violent? Because these are the events which are going to lead to a martial law or a national emergency to be declared. Desperate times will call for desperate measures. This, I call it strike one. What Americans are experiencing right now, this gas crisis, is strike one. I believe strike two is going to come in the form of a food shortage, food crisis. That is going to lead people to behave differently. Desperate times will call for desperate measures. The reason I say there's going to be a food shortage, which will result in a food crisis nationwide, is because right now, the majority of animals which human beings use as food sources are being taken away. This ranges from both marine life to animals that walk on the land or even to the birds that fly in the midst of heaven. And also, the bees are being taken away by the millions. Bees are dying off in one single night. Unexplainable reasons. Fish dying by the millions over one night, washing ashore. No one can explain why they have died. Birds dropping dead from the sky for unexplainable reasons, and they die. The cattle of the land, they too also are dying for unexplainable reasons. No one can be able to explain. Science can no longer be able to explain these things because even autopsies are not showing any signs of any type of contamination or any type of diseases. These are simply mysterious deaths which cannot be explained. Rivers and lakes and beaches are turning blood red. No one can fully understand exactly why this is taking place now even more than ever before. The events of these days are happening at rapid successions. One event finishes, but its conclusion leads to another, and another, and another. You have all of these different things which are building up to a climax. That climax is a crisis. So when you put all these things into perspective, what do you think that's all going to build up to? That looks like it is building up to something that is much more bigger than anything that we have ever experienced on Earth. The Great Depression, which happened back in 1929 and lasted for nearly a decade, that Great Depression is going to look like a child's play compared to what the world is going to experience. Even the Bible describes that there is coming a dangerous time, and it describes that time as being an hour of great tribulation. It describes saying that, and I quote, these are the very words of Jesus Christ. He describes in Matthew 24 verses 21 all the way through 22, he speaks the following words. He says, and I quote, "For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been since the beginning of the world until this time. No, nor ever shall be." Verse 22, "And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened." Now, for those of you who believe that you are going to be secretly raptured before the Great Tribulation, what did the word of Jesus Christ just describe here? It says, unless those days are shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, the days will be shortened. In other words, God's children, the elect, they go through the tribulation of time. However, it is for their sake that the tribulation will be shortened. And it is shortened because that is when Jesus Christ interrupts the world during the Great Tribulation. Because at that time the world will be on a hot zone. The wicked people have already lost control of themselves. Desperate times call for desperate measures. But that is for a whole different discussion all by itself as far as the Great Tribulation. However, I want you to understand that all these events which we are experiencing right now, these are all pointing to a possible turning point in which everything's going to come falling down. Everything is heading to a climax. When everything gets to the climax, that is when we have entered into the hot zone. And this hot zone will be what will reveal to us our true characters. True character is not formed during a crisis. True character is revealed during a crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have the freedom to be able to share information. But we know, we are intelligent enough to know that our freedoms are being withdrawn away from us. Censorship is a real deal. It's not a hoax. It is not a lie. It is not a joke. Censorship is a real thing. Do your part now, while there is yet time to share information. Share this video. Share the information that you learn from this channel. Because you never know, at the end of the day, you never know who you're going to reach. I never know who I'm going to reach out there. So do your part. Do not keep this information, this knowledge to yourselves. Share this information, share this video with anyone who you can be able to share the information to. Let them know that something is about to happen. We are heading into a breaking point. Share this information with them so that they may be able to prepare. So that they may be able to prepare themselves spiritually. We need to pray and fast. We need to become closer to our God than ever before. We are heading into a dark night, the darkest hour of the earth itself. We need Jesus Christ with us at all times. We need the Lord. It doesn't matter how many times you fall down, as long as you get back up and you keep trying, you keep pressing forward. The Lord God will stand by your side as long as you stand on your feet and as long as you attempt to always chase after Him and hold on to Him. You are always going to fall. You're going to fall down. You're going to trip and fall. However, don't remain down. The Bible says the righteous man falleth 7 times, but he gets back up. Whereas the wicked person only falls once and he remains.
Previous popes have spoken out about the environment, but none made it such a priority. Pope Francis is essentially moving doing your part for the environment into the realm of obligation. But will that translate into action? In theory, with 1.2 billion followers, the Pope could tip the balance, ensuring faith trumps all other interests, getting in the way of fighting man-made climate change.
It seems clear to me also that climate change is a problem we can no longer be left to a future generation.
Because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. You can read it in the Bible. Centuries ago, the word of God foretold that there would be an evil that would grip the entire human race. That nation would rise up against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and that a corruption of a supernatural nature would sweep away the last vestige of proof that man was made in the image of God. But from the midst of the sewage of immorality, there would be one system that would ascend, one power that would emerge as the presumptive savior of humanity. And that power that will seize upon the misguided adoration of humanity. That power is Rome. And as you behold the artful advance of the papacy's campaign to have their pontiff crowned as the champion of peace, it begins to become clear that the political rigor mortis that once held Rome as its captive, those bonds of impotence have been broken. Rome is back.
Let's take something like climate change.
Let's. We just got back from Antarctica, and Antarctica is melting, Greenland is melting as fast as they can. Sea levels are rising, yet many people are putting their head in the sand.
If I can change how
the country thinks about this as a serious, immediate threat, not some distant, vague thing.
Which is crucial.
If I can encourage and gain commitments from the Chinese, that then allows us to leverage the entire world for the conference that'll be taking place this year in Paris. If I'm able to do all those things now, when I'm done, we're still going to have a heck of a problem. But we will have made enough progress that the next president and the next generation can start building on it, and you start getting some momentum.
However, you have people, for example, Senator Einhoff, who's throwing snowballs.
You know, they were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College of New York. Professor, lasers, really, to change the weather?
Everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. We physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer. When you have water vapor and you have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. By firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
This fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
The CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War, to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged to, right.
Yeah.
Now, we realize that for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo-jumbo.
Some people have grown tired of waiting for Mother Nature to bring relief and have decided to try and take matters into their own hands.
Craig Funky is flying me to the edge of a violent thunderstorm.
You see how nice and crisp the top of that cloud is up there?
Yeah. But the former commercial pilot isn't some adrenaline junkie courting danger. He's a cloud seeder, chasing this menacing storm to squeeze out extra rain for the drought-stricken farmland below. This is Craig's job, firing chemicals into the clouds in a controversial attempt to modify the weather. He's literally a rainmaker.
That dark, thick cloud over there has lots of moisture in it.
That's part of the cloud that we see. It actually looks heavy with rain.
Cloud seeding has been used around the world for decades. So we came to South Texas to find out if cloud seeding can really maximize our most precious resource, or if it's just a romantic notion that doesn't hold water.
If you look at the cloud as a factory, we're inducing a lot of raw material into the factory so that the factory becomes more efficient.
And more productive.
Consequently more productive.
Oh, I see the flare.
Yeah.
It looks like he's painting the sky.
The flares are shooting millions of silver iodide and calcium chloride particles into the cloud, where they collide with drops of water and ice and produce even more moisture. Then, usually within 20 minutes...
So what is this white smoky stuff over here?
That's rain.
Oh, that's rain?
Yeah, that's rain. All this is rain out there.
We're told the Sandra law will be enforced under many guises. But here's one: to combat climate change. And we're told we will know when the mark of the beast is near, when we see church and state are uniting. When church and state unite, just as in the old world of Europe, etc. When church and state unite, and the church dictates to the state, and the state becomes the church in essence, a Sunday law is near, and we are nearing that crisis.
Elder Ted Wilson is telling the worldwide Seventh-day Adventist Church to just go to sleep. Don't worry about the prophetic events that are developing around us in regard to the Sunday law that is brewing.
The question has surfaced from time to time as to whether or not there is some connection between the General Conference and its involvement with Sunday laws and that kind of thing. Also, strange rumors that have been floating around in the internet for a number of years, actually, that the Pope has contacted the United States President, who has contacted the General Conference President about national Sunday laws and all of this. I want to tell you that this is absolutely incorrect, totally false. Nothing of that sort is in the pipeline at the present time, nothing that we have understood.
Elder Ted Wilson says, don't listen to these type of rumors. There's nothing in the pipeline at this time. There's no Sunday law. We'll let you know when there's something going on.
In Great Controversy, page 590, we are told, my friends, we are told, a Sunday law will come to combat calamities. Are calamities becoming more frequent? Are they becoming more disastrous? I won't spend much time there. Look at this. The Pope of Rome says what? To combat climate change, to care for nature and the poor, Sunday must be observed. That's your last sentence especially. Sunday must be observed. Your last sentence, nature, last 4 words, and the poor, Sunday must be observed.
Ladies and gentlemen, this video is not a spam. What you've read on the title of this video, that's exactly what I'm talking to you about right now. I'm not even going to waste much of your time. Check out these headlines. Read them with me. What do these headlines read? Do not take my words for it. Let's go to USA Today. Headline reads the following words, and I quote, Poland to phase out Sunday shopping by 2020. This is written by the Associated Press. First paragraph reads the following words. Warsaw, Poland. Poland's lawmakers on Friday approved a law that will phase out Sunday shopping by the year 2020, despite criticism that it may eliminate thousands of jobs. Second paragraph. Proposed by trade unions that want shop workers to spend more time with their families. The bill got support from the ruling party that adheres to Catholic values. Catholic values. Listen to the following. I'm putting heavy emphasis on this, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the bill got support from the ruling party that adheres. In other words, they stick to Catholic values. They are the majority. They are the ones behind the trade union movements. You see, many people were saying that I am speaking some far-fetched stuff, or the few people who are saying that a national Sunday law is coming and that it's coming at an aggressive pace. We've said that it's going to come and take place. Many people are laughing and saying, oh, that will never happen. But guess what? The proof is right in front of your eyes. Now what more do you want? Guaranteed, by 2020, expect a few more nations to be on board with this whole plan. Now, I don't want to get too carried away with my commentary on this subject, so let's continue back by taking you this time to the Bloomberg report. Headline reads the following words, and I quote, Poland's conservative government approves ban on Sunday shopping. The government approves ban on Sunday shopping. Question, what two entities do you see based on this headline which I've just read to you? First, number one, make note, government. That is the first entity. The second half of the entity has to do with Sunday sacredness. Sunday sacredness belongs to who? It belongs to the Roman Catholic Church, which means you've got a government that is intermingling itself and having an affair with the Roman Catholic Church, having an affair with Mystery Babylon, the mother of harlots, that whore that rides the dreadful beast. This government is intermingling itself with the church. You've got a church and state union right now taking place in Poland. This is going to be in full effect by 2020. Now the first paragraph of this article reads the following words, and I quote, Poland's ruling party approved a law that will gradually impose a ban on Sunday shopping, meeting the demand of its conservative Catholic supporters with a measure that risks undermining economic growth and hitting corporate profits and real estate investors. Second paragraph, the Law and Justice Party, which has vowed to pull the European Union's largest eastern member out of the bloc's mainstream and return it to its traditional roots, passed a law on Friday to force, once again heavy emphasis, to force retail businesses to close for 2 Sundays a month next year and for all but a few exceptions in 2020. Backed by labor unions and the Catholic Church. Once again, backed by labor unions and the Catholic Church, the bill must now be approved by the upper house of Parliament and signed into law by President. I can't pronounce that name, so I'm going to just ignore that name and just pretend like I know how to pronounce that name. Ladies and gentlemen, the main point that I want you to understand over here is the following. The Catholic Church is behind these labor unions, and these labor unions, they are the ones who are going to be used to impose national Sunday law upon the people. In fact, they are actually going to use the people. They're going to communicate to their workers, and the workers are going to actually plead for a national day of rest, because why not have a day of family rest? Wouldn't it be good just to have one day of rest, one family day of rest? Make it a law where everybody must cease from their works. And let's not forget, the Pope, he is a pro-climate change pusher, which means what a great idea this would be. For the sake of the climate, for the sake of climate change, what a great idea that would be, what a positive idea that is, and how it would positively impact climate change. And then you're going to have those puppets like Bill Nye and many other people who are pro-climate change pushers as well, and they are going to rally behind this and say, yes, we need to shut down at least all factories for 1 full day, and it is beneficial for the environment, and it is beneficial to families. However, there's one problem. There's a law in world history which dictates that history repeats itself. History always finds a way to repeat. What am I talking about? In 321 AD, as I've shown you before, from the book of world history, in 321, Constantine, the emperor of Rome, the power of the state, he united with the bishop of Rome, and together they were able to come on a common agreement, and they passed a law declaring that all workshops must be closed on Sunday and all magistrates must rest on Sunday, and that law would go national, and all people were now required by the government and by the church to keep Sunday sacred and Sunday as a day of rest. It was made official, which means in 321 AD, National Sunday Law was declared. After that, those who did not comply with National Sunday Law, they were jailed, they were fined, they suffered severe penalties, they were persecuted. That is what happened then. This time, what different is it going to be than then? It's right in front of you, ladies and gentlemen.
You're watching VNN, the Vatican News Network, World News Today. And now, here's Katerina Vega.
At the suggestion of the former United States, the Vatican officially passed a new law mandating that all citizens of the world government must attend Mass. In light of the recent calamities on our cities, Pope Matthew says that universal attendance to church will show the Lord that there is still good left in mankind. As a compliance incentive, the Vatican intends to use the chip implants released 2 years ago as the now only acceptable form of currency. Churches from all denominations worldwide are being fitted with sensors that will automatically add funds to a person's implant upon entering a sanctioned church on Sundays. Failure to comply with the new laws is punishable by imprisonment or even death.
The simple message is the economy is doing well. We have confidence in the robustness of the economy and its resilience to shocks. It's performed well over the last several years. We've created, since the trough in employment after the financial crisis, around 16 million jobs. The unemployment rate has moved way down, and many more people feel optimistic about their prospects. The simple message is the economy is doing well.
Today, millions of Americans say that they believe that the United States is on the verge of a major economic collapse and will soon be entering another Great Depression. But only a small percentage of those same people are prepared for that to happen.
We are in a big, fat, ugly bubble.
The following is a list of 30 things that you and your family will need to survive when the economy totally collapses and the catastrophic disaster begins. 1. Keep some cash at home. This goes along with the previous point. While it is not wise to keep all of your money at home, you do want to keep some cash at hand. If there is an extended bank holiday, or if a giant burst from the sun causes the ATM machines to go down, you want to be able to have enough cash to buy things that your family need. Just ask people of Cyprus how crippling a bank holiday can be. One way to keep cash secure at home is by storing it in a concealed, safe place. 2. Get out of debt. A lot of people seem to assume that the economic collapse would wipe out all debts, but that will probably not be the case. In fact, if you are in a tremendous amount of debt, you will be very vulnerable if the economy collapses and you are not able to find a job. Just ask the people who were overextended and lost their jobs during the last recession. So please, get out of debt. Many debt collectors are becoming increasingly ruthless. In many areas of the country, they are now routinely putting debtors into prison. You do not want to be a slave to debt when the next wave of economic collapse strikes. 3. Gold and silver. In the long term, the US dollar is going to lose a tremendous amount of value and inflation is going to absolutely skyrocket. That is one reason why so many people are investing very heavily in gold, silver and other precious metals. All over the globe, the central banks of the world are recklessly printing money. Everyone knows that this is going to end very badly. In fact, there is already a push in more than a dozen US states to allow gold and silver coins to be used as legal tender. Someday, you will be glad that you invested in gold and silver now, while their prices were still low. 4. Move away from the big cities if possible. For many people, this is simply not possible. Many Americans are still completely and totally dependent on their jobs. But if you are able, now is a good time to move away from the big cities. Where the next major economic downturn strikes, there will be a rioting and a dramatic rise in crime in the major cities. If you are able to move to a more rural area, you will probably be in a better shape. 5. Warm clothing and hiking gear, especially good footwear. If you plan to survive for long in a nightmare economic situation, you are probably going to need some warm, functional clothing. If you live on a cold climate, this is going to mean storing up plenty of blankets and cold weather clothes. If you live in an area where it rains a lot, you will need to be sure to store up some rain gear. If you think you may have to survive outdoors in an emergency situation, make sure that you and your family have something warm to put on your heads. Someday after the economy has collapsed and people are scrambling to survive, a lot of folks are going to end up freezing to death. In fact, the coldest areas, it is actually possible to freeze to death in your own home. Don't let that happen to you. Wool sweaters will keep you warm and alive in sub-zero weather, wet or not, Get them at thrift stores. Military are the best. 6. Hiking boots or comfortable shoes as shelter. When you ask most people to list things necessary for survival, this is not the first or the second thing that comes to mind, but having hiking boots or very comfortable and functional shoes will be absolutely critical. You may very well find yourself in a situation where you and your family must walk everywhere you want to go. So how far do you think you will get in high heels? You will want footwear that you would feel comfortable walking in for hours if necessary. You will also want footwear that will last a long time, because when the economy truly collapses, you may not be able to run out to the shoe store and get what you need at that point. 7. Survival gas mask. It's that one piece of survival gear we always associate with chaos, war, terror, and mass destruction. Events where the air we breathe is not safe, where air is toxic, where air is deadly, and the world as we know it is officially over. In my opinion, way too many survival articles on the web begin by pointing out that water is at the #1 survival need. It's not. Now, I'm not saying that clean water isn't crucial for survival. It's essential. But it's secondary. Access to clean, abundant, breathable air trumps water every single time. Why? Because while it's a well-established fact that you can only survive 3 days without water, less time in intense heat, you can only survive a few minutes without oxygen. 8. Axe, shovel, knife. Staying along the theme of staying warm, you may want to consider investing in a good axe. In the event of a major emergency, gathering firewood will be a priority. Without a good tool to cut the wood with, that will be much more difficult. An axe, or more importantly, more useful and more, basically, a good knife. With a good knife, you can make shelter, get some wood, provide food, and make clothing. Other options are a good spade, shovel, such as a cold steel, special forces, Spetsnaz spade, etc. Get the sheath for whatever you buy. Who needs a Swiss Army knife? This shovel is a chef's knife, axe, grappling hook, entrenching tool, climbing aid, wire cutters, can and bottle opener, sword, shield, band-in cutters, and boat paddle. 9. Self-defense equipment. Whether it is pepper spray to fend off wild animals or something more robust, millions of Americans will one day be thankful that they have something to defend themselves with. 10. Get your ammunition while you still can. Your firearms will do you not much good if you don't have ammunition for them. Already, there are widespread reports of huge ammunition shortages. The following is from a recent CNS News article. The run on ammunition has manufacturers scrambling to accommodate demand and reassure customers, as many new and seasoned gun owners stock up over fears of new firearms regulations at both the state and federal levels. Don't just assume that you will always be able to purchase large amounts of ammunition whenever you want. Get it now, while you still can. 11. A compass and maps to get your BOL by several routes, especially back roads and cross-country. In the event of a major emergency, you and your family may find yourselves having to be on the move. If you are in the wilderness area, it will be very hard to tell what direction you are heading without a compass. It is always a good idea to have at least one compass stored up. 12. A Swiss Army knife. If you have ever owned a Swiss Army knife, you probably already know how incredibly handy they can be. It can be a very valuable and versatile tool. In a true survival situation, a Swiss Army knife can literally do dozens of different things for you. Make sure that you have at least one stored up for emergencies. 13. A hiking backpack. If you cannot carry your shelter, tent, water filter, matches, knife, clothing, etc., you cannot travel with them and provide shelter. If you and your family suddenly have to bug out, what will you carry all of your survival supplies in? Have a good hiking backpack or survival bag for everyone in your family is extremely important. If something happened in the city where you live and you suddenly have to go, what would you put your most important stuff in? How would you carry it all if you had to travel by foot? These are very important things to think about. 14. Shelter. You can't sleep on the streets, can you? Well, some people will be able to get by living on the streets, but the vast majority of us will need some form of shelter to survive for long. So what would you do if you and your family lost your home or suddenly were forced from your home? Where would you go? The best thing to do is come up with several plans. Do you have relatives that you can bunk in with in case of an emergency? Do you own a tent and sleeping bags if you had to rough it? If one day everything hits the fan and you and your family have to bug out somewhere, where would that be? You need to have a plan. 15. Clean water. Most people can survive for a number of weeks without food, but without water you will die in just a few days. So where would you get water if the water supply suddenly stopped flowing out of your taps? Do you have a plan? Is there an abundant supply of clean water near your home? Would you be able to boil water if you need to? Besides storing water and figuring out how you would get to gather water if society breaks down, another thing to consider is water purification tablets. The water you are able to gather during a time of crisis may not be suitable for drinking, so you may find that water purification tablets come in very, very handy. Water filter bottles, pumps and gravity water filters are musts. 16. Lighters or matches. You will also want something to start a fire with. If you can start a fire, you can cook food, you can boil water, and you can stay warm. So in a true emergency situation, how do you plan to start a fire? By rubbing sticks together? Now is the time to put away a supply of lighters or matches, so that you will be prepared when you really need them. In addition, you may want to consider storing up a good supply of candles. Candles come in quite handy whenever the electricity goes out, and in the event of a long-term economic nightmare, we will all see why our forefathers relied on candles so much. There are 17 ways of starting a fire without matches. Learn several and carry the material to do them. 17. A flashlight or lantern. When the power goes off in your home, what is the first thing that you grab? Just think about it. A flashlight or a lantern, of course. In a major emergency, a flashlight or a lantern is going to be a necessity, especially if you need to go anywhere at night. Solar-powered or crank-style flashlights or lanterns will probably be best during a long-term emergency. If you have battery-powered units, you will want to begin storing up lots and lots of batteries. 18. Storing up food. A BOB and BOV should have 72 hours of food. Mountain hose, granola, PBJ nuts, sunflower seeds, etc. Food is going to instantly become one of the most valuable commodities in existence in the event of an economic collapse. If you do not have food, you are not going to survive. Most American families could not last much longer than a month on what they have in their house right now. So what about you? If disaster struck right now, how long could you survive on what you have? The truth is that we all need to start storing up food. If you and your family run out of food, you will suddenly find yourselves competing with the hordes of hungry people who are looting the stores and roaming the streets looking for something to eat. Of course, you can grow your own food, but that is going to take time. So you need to have enough food stored up until the food that you plan to grow has time. But if you have not stored up any seeds, you might as well forget it. When the economy totally collapses, the remaining seeds will disappear very quickly. So if you think you are going to need seeds, now is the time to get them. 19. Learn to grow your own food. This is a skill that most Americans possessed in the past, but that most Americans today have forgotten. Growing your own food in a way to become more independent of the system, and it is a way to get prepared for what is ahead. 20. A first aid kit and other medical supplies. One more serious note, you may not be able to access a hospital or a doctor during a major crisis. In your survival supplies, be absolutely certain that you have a good first aid kit and any other medical supplies that you think you may need. 21. Stock up on vitamins. A lot of preppers do not think about this either, but this is very important. These days, it is becoming increasingly difficult to get adequate nutrition from foods that we eat. That is why it is very important to have an adequate store of vitamins and other supplements. 22. A radio. If a major crisis does hit the United States, what will you and your family want? Among other things, you will all want to know what in the world is going on. A radio can be an invaluable tool for keeping up with the news. Once again, solar-powered or crank-style radios will probably work best for the long run. A battery-powered unit would work as well, but only for as long as your batteries are able to last. 23. Communication equipment. When things really hit the fan, you are going to want to communicate with your family and friends. You will also want to be able to contact an ambulance or law enforcement if necessary. Having an emergency cell phone is great, but it may or may not work during a time of crisis. The internet also may or may not be available. Be sure to have a plan, whether it be high-tech or low-tech, for staying in communication with others during a major emergency. 24. Personal hygiene items. While these may not be absolute essentials, the truth is that life will get very unpleasant very quickly without them. For example, what would you do without toilet paper? Just think about it. Imagine that you just finished your last roll of toilet paper and now you can't get any more. What would you do? Solution? And a huge dollar saver is to use a lab irrigation bottle. Cost $10. And since most families spend $100 to $300 a year on toilet paper, it will pay for itself in a day or two and save you hundreds of dollars annually. Even if you buy one for every member, you are still hundreds ahead. The truth is that soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste, shampoo, toilet paper, and other hygiene products are things that we completely take for granted in society today. So, what would happen if we could not go out and buy them any longer? 25. Don't forget the special needs of your babies and your pets. Young children and pets have special needs. As you store supplies, don't forget about the things that they will need as well. 26. A sewing kit. If you were not able to run out and buy new clothes for you and your family, what would you do? Well, you would want to repair the clothes that you have and make them last as long as possible. Without a good sewing kit, this will be very difficult to do. 27. Extra gasoline. There may come a day when gasoline is rationed or is simply not available at all. If that happens, how will you get around? Be certain to have some extra gasoline stored away just in case you find yourself really needing to get somewhere someday. 28. A backup plan. This is really your first step and priority. Have backup plans to get your BOL. Lastly, it is always important to have a backup plan for everything. If someone comes in and steals all the food that you have stored up, what are you going to do? If travel is restricted and you can't get your bug out location immediately, do you have a plan B? If you have built your house into an integral survival fortress, but circumstances force you to leave, do you have an alternative plan? The truth is that crisis situations rarely unfold just as we envision. It is important to be flexible and to be ready with backup plans whenever disaster strikes. You don't want to end up like the folks in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. You don't want to have to rely on the government to take care of you if something really bad happens. 29. A community. This is basically your goal. Travel as a community or end up in a community as your BOL. During a long-term crisis, it is those who are willing to work together that will have the best chance of making it. Whether it is your family, your friends, a church, or a local group of people that you know, make sure that you have some people that you can rely on and work together within the event that everything hits the fan. Loners are going to have a really hard time of surviving for long. 30. Keep your prepping to yourself. Do not go around and tell everyone in your area where you live about your prepping. If you do, then you may find yourself overwhelmed by visitors when everything falls apart. And please do not go on television and brag about your prepping to a national audience. Prepping is something that you want to keep to yourself, unless you want hordes of desperate people banging on your door in the future.
Seventh-day Adventist churches, and non-Christians around the world. Prepare for the end. Prepare for the terror of mankind and the terror from the hand of God. This is a final warning. Prepare your health and prepare your spiritual trust in God, because the closing of probation will be the worst hell and torture you will ever know. Stay strong, because it will be the worst imaginable thought of your life.
Everyone was warned, but no one listened. A rise in temperature, ocean patterns changed, and ice caps melted. They called it extreme weather. They didn't know what extreme was. In the year of 2019, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and droughts unleashed a wave of destruction upon our planet.
There it is. This tornado just touched down. Well, we can see it from right here. It's ripping up trees. It's ripping up everything in its sight. If you're above ground, you need to get to a storm shelter or a safe place right now.
downtown Los Angeles.
The whole world is watching. The course of human history is changed today.
This is not a test. This is an emergency broadcast transmission.
We're going to stay on the air for as long as possible.
We're seeing heavily armed forces being deployed.
Every man make himself and his country proud. Be brave. Be brave. Be brave.
Locations across the globe were breached.
There are massive casualties in Moscow, Paris. We lost communications with Tokyo, Rio, and New York.
I saw a new heaven and a new earth. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, come down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride for her husband. Here, God lives with human beings, and he will make his home among them. They will be his people, and he will be their God. God with them. And he will, and there will be no more death, no more mourning or sadness or pain. The world of the past is gone. The Spirit and the bride say, "Come, let all who are thirsty come, and all who want it may have the water of life, and have it free." Amen. Come, Lord Jesus.
Revelation 20 verse 15. And if anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, he was thrown into the lake of fire.
My gifts. Does the gown not please you?
No.
Can you speak so of your bridal gown? I've found my true mate. And you know it.
Never.
Beneath the skin, we are already one. Was it not your sin trapped the unicorn? Even now, the evil seed of what you've done germinates within you.
No. You lie. You disgust me. You're nothing but an animal.
We are all animals, my lady. And the dark of the night. Sunshine is my destroyer.
trust in God wherever I may be, upon the land or on the rolling sea. For come what may, from day to day, my heavenly Father watches over me. I trust in God. I know He cares for me on mountain bleak or on the stormy sea. Though billows roll, He keeps my soul. My heavenly Father watches over me.
Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away.
After the earth is purified by fire, the Lord then takes up His wondrous work of recreation. At the power of His word, the earth is restored into its former Edenic beauty. He speaks, and a carpet of rich, lush vegetation covers the planet. At His command, land and water again teem with vibrant life. Countless complex and magnificent creatures of every kind peacefully explore the new paradise. The invigorating atmosphere is pure and sweet. The earth becomes one grand showcase of creative brilliance.
And God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There shall be no more death, nor sorrow, nor crying. There shall be no more pain, for the former things have passed away.
The security of the universe is complete. With the New Jerusalem as their capital, all created beings rejoice under the loving dominion of God. Those who have been rescued from eternal destruction share a special bond with their Creator that no other heavenly beings can appreciate. Yet while sin and sinner have been forever destroyed, one trace of the great rebellion still remains.
What happened to your hand?
It is the scars on the hands, feet, and side of Jesus. As day after blissful day of eternity passes, all sad and painful memories dissipate in the glory of heaven's brilliant splendor. No longer tied to a limited lifespan, the immortal children of God are now free to reach their highest ambitions. The limitless pursuit of knowledge invigorates and stimulates the mind. No longer bound to earth, the redeemed are free to explore the wonders of God's endless universe. Heaven is a place of perfect peace and harmony, where love for God and others fills every heart. The Bible promises that this coming kingdom can be your eternal home. Jesus sacrificed Himself on the cross to provide you forgiveness and victory from sin. More than anything else, Jesus wants you to live with Him in this earth made new. And while He's desperate to save you, He cannot force this free gift upon you. You must choose to accept it yourself. Won't you come to Him today? Ask Him now, and He'll come into your heart.
Will you bow your heads and close your eyes a moment?
The theme of the Bible is Jesus and how He died to save man.
He understands.
The plan of Jesus, he's coming back again. Are you ready for Jesus to come? Are you faithful in all that you do? Have you fought a good fight? Have you stood for the right? Have others seen Jesus in you? Are you ready to stand in your place? Are you ready to look in his face? Can you look up and say, this is my Lord? Are you ready for Jesus to come? Don't cling to this world and its treasure. This earth will soon pass away.
Give him your heart, brothers and sisters.
Oh, give him your heart without measure. He's calling you today. Are you ready
That's the bottom line.
for Jesus
Are you ready for Jesus to come?
to come?
It's nothing you have to do except say, Lord, I come. He says, come now. Let's reason together and come with confidence. Come knowing that you will obtain mercy. It doesn't matter what you've done in life. People come and they say, oh, you've done this wrong and you've done that wrong. Well, guess what? I crucified the Son of God. That's the worst thing any of us have done. We killed the Son of God. Sin cost him his life. And right now, we should respond. We should say, Lord, I come. I come, dear God. I don't know what to do next, but here I am. And I hold you responsible for my salvation because you know what to do with it. And now when I come this time, Lord, I'm going to open up my heart and you take control. Please, dear God. Please. God is speaking right now. He's speaking in homes. He's speaking in churches. And he's speaking right in this auditorium. And if it's your desire to give your heart right now and say, Lord, I come, I want that personal relationship, I'm going to invite you right now to just stand to your